Imagine a world where the most fearsome warriors were not men, a world where horsewomen at full gallop loosed arrows more precisely than any soldier, where strategy was born in minds that were not even permitted to think about power. Now imagine that this world actually existed, that behind millennia of legend hides something real, bones, weapons, earth that remembers, that beneath our feet, literally, lie the proofs of what most people refuse to believe. Today we speak of the Amazons, of women whose name for thousands of years made hearts beat faster, from admiration, from wonder, from that strange joy that arises when humanity discovers something that contradicts everything it believed. Their names were carved in marble, woven into the songs of bards, and not one has faded with time. They only grew brighter. Let us step together into their world, and may that step change the way we think about strength, about freedom, and about immortality. And before we walk into legend, we will return to reality, to the burial mounds, to the bones, to the evidence that silenced the skeptics. If journeys like this are yours, subscribe to the channel. Many more worlds are waiting for us beyond the horizon. Origins, when gods and mortals stood side by side. Let us begin at the beginning, the true beginning, where every union had consequences that lasted for centuries. Their foremother is considered to be Outrere, a woman whose name sounds like the strike of a sword against a shield. Short, sharp, unforgettable. Beside her, Ares, the god of war, one who never hesitates and never regrets. But do not mistake this for romance. The union of Outrere and Ares is a collision of two forces, of wild femininity and merciless martial spirit. And from this collision was born an idea. A woman can be a force in her own right, not a shadow of someone else's exploit, but a force that requires no justification. What Outrere received from Ares was not protection. She received equality, the right to stand beside a god and not bow her head. This is the foundation upon which an entire civilization was built. Even those who came to conquer them had to acknowledge that before them stood no ordinary adversaries. And there was another thread, the goddess Harmonia, daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. Some traditions connect the Amazons with her as well. For what is an Amazon if not a balance between contradictions, between tenderness and iron, between motherhood and battle, between a body that brings forth new life and hands that know how to protect it? But who were they truly? These women whose name made entire armies tremble, not an abstraction. Concrete women with names that outlasted millennia. The queens, three portraits of the unbreakable. Even among equals, there are those whose names are carved in stone. At the head of the Amazons stood always a queen. And what queens they had. Hippolyta, a name meaning she who lets loose the horses. Daughter of Ares, who wore a golden girdle, a symbol of power so real that Heracles himself was compelled to come for it. But she was more than the owner of an artifact. Hippolyta heard her people, felt the pulse of the step, knew the weight of every decision before she ever spoke it aloud. Her warriors followed her, not out of fear. Beside her, they felt themselves part of something greater. Penthesilea, her name sounds like the name of a tragedy. And that is no accident. She came to the walls of Troy after Hector's death, when the city was dying slowly. Her story is not simply about battle, it is about what happens when a person chooses honor where they might have chosen safety. Antiope is the third in this constellation. Her fate is bound to Theseus, who came to the Amazons and did not leave empty-handed. Antiope went with him, whether willingly or not. Different traditions say different things. But she did not become a victim. She did not dissolve into a foreign city, did not forget who she was. She remained an Amazon, even when the entire world around her spoke another tongue. Three women, three answers to one question: how to remain yourself when the whole world is against you. Three different women, but all three grew from the same root. From a land where the sky has no ceiling and the wind asks no permission. Land and sky, where these women lived Themyscira, a city on the banks of the Thermodon River, in what is now northern Turkey. The ancient Greeks spoke of it with dread and curiosity. the heart of the Amazon state. No Greek commander ever took it by storm, not because of walls, but because its defenders knew every inch of the surrounding steppe, and the enemy simply vanished into it. But the Amazons were not confined to one place. Traditions placed them in Anatolia, in the steppes of the Black Sea region, and further east, where the horizon is unreachable, and a stranger without a guide could wander and never return. There is something purposeful in their association with open spaces. The steppe demands movement, and the Amazons refused the cage of any size, even one called protection. Their patron was Artemis, goddess of the hunt and wild nature. She never fully submitted to Olympus. She chose the forests over palace halls. Her bond with the Amazons is simple. Both chose independence. The goddess herself showed it was possible. Athena stands near them differently. In some traditions, a rival. Athena represents law and strategy, a city with a constitution. The Amazons, instinct and will, a steppe without borders. Different paths to the same destination. Two goddesses, two images of power, and between them women who chose neither side. They simply moved forward. And now you will understand what that meant in practice. The art of war as religion studies of Scythian bones tell us one thing. The deformations from riding began in children aged 4 to 5 years. Not teenagers, children. For the Amazons were above all warriors, and they made the art of war their religion. A steppe mare under saddle, the first ally, the first teacher of balance. An Amazon and her horse are not rider upon horse. They are a single combat unit, where the boundary between human and animal dissolves in the gallop. Where the horsewoman no longer thinks, she feels. Archery at full gallop required years and thousands of arrows before it became instinct. The arrow flew where the eye looked before the mind had time to form the intention. This is true mastery, when the body knows more than thought. Spear, sword, battle axe. Light equipment that granted mobility where heavy infantry suffocated under its own weight. An enemy prepared for a prolonged siege would find the gates already open because the Amazons were already inside. They fought as a pack, coordinated, instantly responsive to shifts in the situation. The way birds respond to wind, all together without command. Each knew her place. This cohesion gave an advantage that most enemies lacked. Their most fearsome weapon was not on the battlefield. It was in the way they built the world they wished to live in. A society without apology. Imagine a girl of 5 years. Her first day in the saddle. No one asks whether she wishes it. This is not cruelty, it is the norm. The only norm she will ever know. Women ruled, women guarded the borders, women made the laws. Not because it happened that way, but because it was designed to be so from the start. Relationships with men existed, but on the Amazons' terms. According to tradition, once a year they met with neighboring tribes for the continuation of lineage. An equal agreement, not submission. Boys went to the father, girls remained, and were raised as warriors. A conscious choice of a community that knew what it wished to be. Your worth was defined not by whom you belonged to, but by who you were. Through skill, courage, dedication to the community. What you could do, how much you were willing to give. And archaeology confirms this in silence. In Sarmatian burials, female warriors were interred with the same honors as the greatest men of their time. Not beside a warrior, as a warrior. This is not an exception to the rule, this is the rule. And now, 3 moments after which you will never think of them the same way again. 3 encounters where the characters of people and gods were tested for strength, and not all endured. The great encounters where legend became more than story. Heracles' 10th labor, he was to bring the golden girdle of Hippolyta, a gift from Ares himself. When Heracles arrived at Penthesilea, Hippolyta was prepared to give the girdle willingly. She saw a hero who had come with respect, and respect met respect. But Hera intervened. She spread a rumor. Heracles wished to abduct their queen. The steppe rang with battle cries. Heracles decided Hippolyta had betrayed their agreement. He killed her, took the girdle, left. No one here is truly a villain. Heracles was following orders. Hippolyta acted with dignity. Hera used suspicion as a weapon, one that leaves no marks on the body but kills more precisely than any sword. A woman who had not retreated even when she had already lost, died between them. And now, Penthesilea. She knew she was going to her death. She knew who stood across from her, Achilles, whose glory filled the air before he even appeared on the field. She came to the walls of Troy not to win. She came for atonement. For before this, her hand had accidentally taken the life of her sister, Hippolyta herself. A spear that flew the wrong way, a moment that cannot be undone. And the only thing that could cleanse that burden was death in battle. A worthy death. The death of a warrior, not a victim. She stepped forward anyway. And when Achilles killed her, according to legend, he stopped. He lowered his weapon. He looked at her. Before him was an equal, someone who had met him without fear, someone who had chosen this path knowingly, with open eyes. Achilles had fought all his life, but it was here, over the body of his enemy, that he first understood the difference between strength and courage, between winning and not retreating. Antiope and Theseus. This story is about what happens when the borders between worlds are crossed. Theseus came to the Amazons and did not leave empty-handed. Antiope went with him, willingly or not, traditions disagree, but their union led to a march on Athens. The Amazons reached the very heart of an enemy city. They brought the steppe to a place ruled by stone and law. Even if they did not win, they showed, there is no place an Amazon will not dare to go. What became of them afterward, traditions give different answers. But the most truthful, perhaps, is this. They did not disappear. They changed form. Their legacy became part of humanity's imagination of what is even possible. Write in the comments, which of these women's stories moved you most? And if all of this had remained only in the steppe, we might never have known. But there is one force that proved stronger than any weapon. The art that does not forget their bodies vanished. Their cities vanished. But there is one place where the Amazons did not merely survive, where they became immortal. And that place is the human imagination. On ancient Greek vases, their silhouettes are sharp and fearless. Artists portrayed them with the same reverence as the gods. The Parthenon frieze depicts the Amazonomachy alongside the battle of gods and giants. Three great conflicts that defined the limits of the possible, and among them, women. In 1941, William Moulton Marston created Wonder Woman, an Amazon princess who leaves her island to protect the world. He consciously drew on Greek myth. The fact that this character, 80 years later, remains one of the most recognizable in the world is proof of a simple thing. The image of a warrior woman requires no adaptation for each era. It simply finds a new form each time. Comics, films, books, games, wherever humanity searches for new heroes, it sooner or later returns to an image that lived for millennia in Greek amphorae and Scythian burial mounds. The earth speaks what archaeologists have found. And here, the point where myth and reality cease to be adversaries. Archaeology has spoken, and what it said silenced the skeptics. In Scythian and Sarmatian burials of the Black Sea region, on the lands of modern Ukraine, Russia, and Kazakhstan, researchers found women's graves containing battle equipment, not ornaments beside weapons. The weapons themselves as the primary element. As identity, spears, arrows, battle girdles, horse harnesses. The status markers of a warrior, not a warrior's wife, but a warrior herself. One burial found on the lands of modern Ukraine belonged to a young woman in her early 20s. Beside her, an iron sword, arrowheads and bones deformed by riding from childhood. Her skeleton spoke in a language that needs no translation. This woman spent her entire short life in the saddle and in battle. Every bone carried the imprint of that choice. Researchers have calculated approximately 20% of Sarmatian warrior burials belong to women. 20% is not an exception. It is a cultural practice that existed for hundreds of years continuously. And most importantly, these discoveries were made here, on the lands where we live today. in the steps that remember the thunder of hooves from 1,000 years ago. Beneath our feet, their memory. Beneath our sky, their sky. Were these women the very Amazons written about by Herodotus and Homer? Perhaps this is exactly how legends are born. From genuine wonder at a genuine reality. A traveler sees a woman who fights better than most men and cannot fit this into existing categories. So he creates a new one. He creates a myth. And a myth lives longer than any name, longer than any bone in any burial mound. Their reality and their myth do not contradict each other. They amplify each other. Real women who galloped across the steppes and fought alongside men, and sometimes instead of them, gave rise to an image so powerful that it required no confirmation. It crossed borders and outlasted millennia, immortality in the choice. The Amazons did not disappear. They changed form. They became an idea, and that idea outlived empires, wars, and time itself. It outlived peoples who once laughed at it. It outlived the skeptics of every age who said, "This cannot be, it can, it was, and it will be again." Because true strength is not in defeating everyone, it is in remaining in memory, forever. So that thousands of years later, someone speaks your name and feels something real. That feeling of touching something that exists beyond a single time and a single place, thousands of years, countless generations. A legend that does not fade, because at its foundation lies not invention, but the real choices of real women. The choice to be oneself fully, the choice not to ask permission for one's own strength, the choice to meet the horizon at a gallop, rather than wait for someone to permit you to move. Myth and reality. We tried to separate them at the beginning, and could not. Now you know why, and as long as we speak their name, they are still riding out there, somewhere beyond the horizon, and the earth beneath us remembers the thunder of their hooves.